Yeah, good.
There you go.
Just start off, just before we introduce our special guest, just want to do acknowledgement of the country, just give give respect and pay regards to all elders past and present on all the lands that we work, play, and live on, and just as I said, pay respects to our elders past and present, any emerging elders, and welcome everyone else that's listening out there today as well. So thanks for joining us, fellas. CJ,
How are you, mate? How's your week been? All right?
yeah, it's been pretty good, but it's been busy. A lot of Zoom and more Zoom, and trying to keep this pup of ours in keeps jumping fences, brother. So
Oh, the dog. Yeah, that's right.
a little bit of our week. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
So
yourself?
how many push-ups have you done now? So
I'm up to day 15 now, so just over halfway.
so what do you multiply that by 15? By 25? How many is that?
Yeah, you go for that, brother.
Oh no,
I look silly when I get it
I've
wrong.
only got 10
Yeah,
fingers, mate.
yeah.
I can't really...
But the good thing is we've got Dwayne involved now. So I want to introduce Dwayne, really good brother boy of mine, Dwayne Bannon Harrison from down. I think you're in Nowra now, brother.
Yeah.
I am in the Callala, brother. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, brother. I'll and we'll listen into that. So you go for your life, brother.
Yeah, look, yeah, like I'm much, Yogurang Dijang, yeah, and that's my language. That's just acknowledging country, acknowledging your brother's country and all the brothers listening. Look, how good is it, to sort of be able to speak and speak to good men who, show love and compassion, and they're there really caring in what is it's I think obviously first time in history, right? This whole COVID, and it's turned the world on its knees, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on. It means a lot. I literally just buzzed out of the Darty Munwaro panel about half an hour ago, so that was a bit of a buzz watching Uncle Alan Thorpe and the crew down that way, doing their thing, and then and jumping into here. So I've got a bit of a learning that I'll park for a minute that I want to bring out for the listeners today, because I've had big lessons. And what I like to say, Jack, as you know me pretty well, the old fellas have put me in a pretty interesting position today and made me accountable. So I'm loving it. I really am a glutton for punishment in that way, but I'm loving that, and what the old fellas can do. Them old people, and what they can show us if we're willing to listen, right, and listen to each other. And yeah, it's really nice to speak to woke men, men that want to care, and more importantly for all the listeners out there, all the brothers and some of the ladies for that matter that are listening in. And I know Jack has been really well, one of the sort of pioneers in that space too, bringing some of our into these places as well. So I want to acknowledge that. But yeah, a little bit of backstory about me. Look, I got a saying that I wasn't the chosen one; it chose me. This type of work, through the back of, like a lot of brothers out there, through the back of adversity, through some trauma, disconnect is where I come from my backstory to now. Being absolutely blessed and privileged and just full of gratitude for where I am. So, yeah, I've grown a lot. The 2011 and 2015 models of Dwayne Bannon Harrison were very different. And what I mean by that, I believe that I've marinated and I've matured a lot, in being known as a bit of a tyrant or a rogue, but a guy that cares, and that's what I like people to try to sort of see me as, is a fellow that has helped men along in a journey through my own adversity, and that's really important. Jack and I had a really good chat earlier on my new podcast that I've been busily doing, Charlie. Been doing a lot of podcasting, brother. I've actually got another podcast out with a good brother. He should be tuning in today. I'll be checking in with him on recording on Tuesday and testing him. Andrew Hackett. Andrew's a great man. He comes from a totally different background, non-Indigenous brother that had me on his quick backstory to that is he had me on his show earlier in the year, and I was effectively, that was my podcast cherry, as he put it, and I was quite happy to go on there with him. He'd been on our cultural tours, so we had a connection. He actually lived for quite some time at the bottom of where our sacred mountain, where my old grandfather and family lines have been doing tours for a long time, and I'm privileged enough to be leading that now, Charlie, and doing that experience. So that's how we linked up some years ago. We got back together again this year, and we come up with a podcast called Secret Men's Business, and he left me that. He said, "Is this culturally appropriate?" And I sat with it for a few weeks, and I contemplated, and the more I sat with it, the more it made sense that, what, even non-Indigenous Anglo-Saxon men had their business too. So I thought, well why not, And so effectively the show is about a contrast. It's about, obviously, me being blackfella and him being an Anglo-Saxon, non-Indigenous man from a corporate background. He effectively calls himself a bit of a corporate dork, but he's a beautiful man. He's actually a really good spiritual teacher in his own right. Actually, he's done a lot of growing, and anyway, 6 or 7 years later, we were here we've teamed up with this podcast, and I'm having an absolute rattle of a time with it. There's a lot of challenging subjects. We speak from everything from fatherhood to recent episode this week, getting in touch with your feminine masculinity. And I know you two gentlemen know about that, and how we must really sort of go in and really journey into that toxic masculinity and what that means, and how I sort of identify that as a very much a Western construct, from that Westminster system, and it's not the way our old people really behaved, and how do we look back at that? But more from, it's really look at us as First Nations people, as Indigenous people, as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, however we refer to. But I think I've really grown in looking at other cultures, looking how I believe I don't know whether undersell's the right word, but there's a word that we probably don't celebrate. I know that's a big language word for Jack. Celebrate our multiculturalism in our own right. Yeah. So that's sort of the crux of where we come from. But we have a great time in what's 50 odd minutes of diving into men's subjects that effectively, like I say on the podcast, we don't want to make so much of a secret anymore. And it's talking about all the things that you guys work on daily as well. And I listened in last week. I can't believe it's been a week. With brother Donovan, the brother boy you had on last week. I had a bit of a listen to that episode.
Yeah, on
it was that Monday night, wasn't it? Monday night. Yeah. So I had a bit of a gander. It was a great episode. I caught bits and pieces of it, but I wanted to tune into it, and give you guys respect for what you're doing, right? And so it's a shout out to all the brothers. I could keep going on forever with my journey, but that's pretty much the crux of it.
Beautiful story.
I run a cultural service provider, and I do a bit of cooking, so as well, and that sort of was where I was at today, and I'll go into that learning and share that a little bit later on in our yarn. So.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Well, I was just going to say that, but Dwayne, I was going to say, it sounds like you've been on an amazing journey, kind of like that lifetime thing, but it's actually starting to, give you that identity who you are, in the scheme of things. And it's really important that, we all have an understanding of who we are as men, as Aboriginal men, or, as a man, just as a man, in terms of where do you sit within the whole big picture of things, whether it's in your family or whether it's in your community or whether it's, in that footy team or, what's your role, that sort of stuff. And what do you bring to the table, I suppose, and how can you own that? That's really, what I'm hearing from you has been a really very amazing sort of story,
Yeah. And I think, like CJ, what you're saying there, and like Dwayne and I had a bit of a yarn about it earlier in the week on the podcast, and thanks for letting me have that time to have a yarn with you too, brother, because it was such an amazing thing to do. Just talk about what we do, like in our work, in our family life, and those sort of things. And as CJ's just reminded us then, a fair bit of it was about identity and sense of belonging, wasn't it?
Mate, it's huge. And just so the listeners are out there, hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have my own solo podcast. And that was what I had JB on. I'm really excited about that. Let's go there. It's Bring Back the Warrior. It's the concept, it's the model, the approach, the modality, the living, breathing experience of myself that I've tried my best to give a blueprint to for men to connect with. And Jack and I met way back in, it must have been 2012, I think, brother, roundabouts then. So we've known each other for quite some time now through the Mivan Bar Initiative and learning about safe space. And we concentrated a lot on that yarn. It was a beautiful yarn earlier in the week, and what that meant. And I'm number one. I'm certainly a person that believes in it. I create them myself. I've certainly got my own formula, Charlie. You know how to do that, and I think that's. I would imagine with you two guys, you would encourage that, encourage your own. Your own little bit of initiative inside that, or ownership within that space, and which in turn makes that unique, right? And that's really big. It's really important that we find. Getting back to your point, Charlie, is you're right, brother. It's a continuum of learning where we are, right? And how important that is. That and I speak about this self-awareness, right? And looking at who you are and doing basically stripping back the layers. But I think that's the big thing, is that you need someone to help you do that. And I'm so blessed and privileged that throughout my journey. So for the listeners out there, you can go and listen to Secret Members if you like, because a lot of my stories in that. But Bring Back the Warrior podcast will be out in a few weeks. That tells it a bit more in more detail. So I suppose that the main differences between the podcast is the contrast of cultures on Secret Men's Business, aiming towards the end goal of talking about men's well-being from a broader perspective. But with Bring Back the Warrior, it's essentially more interpersonal. It's more in the space that Jack and I and yourself, Charlie, have learned to create, and even the Dadi Manwara, the guys that are doing this work all over the country. Big shout out to all your mob from wherever you are, and big love to you. Look, when it comes to identity, even men that have grown up on community, I know are lost. They may not have been disconnected from community or family, but they're still lost because there's that other important ingredient of their cultural nous and their soundness and their connection to culture. It's in them, and it's in every one of us. It's how one of my old elders, he would say this all the time. It's like activating your microchip, right, which is your third eye, and once you activate that microchip, things happen. Your whole being, your mental capacity, your emotional capacity, and your spiritual capacity becomes somewhat unearthed. And I've had great teachers, and I have to acknowledge those great teachers. And one of them, I'm so lucky, is my grandfather. Both my grandfathers, actually, I owe a lot to. My mum's dad in my early part, who in our language we call our nagun. And on my father's line, who's my father's father, is Uncle Max Harrison, or Jayala the Lamunmun, which is my grandfather, as well as cultural elder. Pretty much doing and teaching Aboriginal culture for best part of 50 years on the south coast here of New South Wales on our beloved Yuin country. So he's 84. He reminds me that he's going to 105, so he's got a lot of time to go with us. And I was on the phone to him. Onto him a couple of nights ago, and we had as we usually do, a 2-hour yarn, just cherishing that moment and knowing that just his presence and his persona, and as we know with all our old people, just sitting there and zipping and having a cuppa, it goes so far, and I'm still very blessed to have that guidance. So and not having my father, losing him to physically to suicide in what was 20 years ago now was obviously a pivotal moment for me, Charlie. And for those guys that are out there, I want to shout out the love and respect to you. Make sure that you speak to someone, speak to these guys, speak to Lifeline. Get out there and talk that. If that's triggered you, just want to be clear with that and stay safe, you guys. But that, in turn, what that does is what I've been able to do somehow, some way, with great people around me, and a lot of. It's more than passion. It's everything who I am. It's essentially bringing back the warrior, and that's what I do. So that lost I call him a lost boy at 20. I think it was about 26. I had a moment where my grandfather took me into a cultural process, and I bawled for about 2 hours, Charlie, bawled crying, and broke right down in front of all them men. There's a whole heap another story around that. I'm actually writing a book on it along with the podcast. So that's going to be my book, Bring Back the Warrior, and writing more about that. But off the back of that, brother, I've somehow got to where I am today without that sounding egocentric. I pride myself on always, even this week, even today, is ringing as many nephews and brothers, checking in, and really working on that, right? And in with you guys tonight. Great.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say too, I mean, I know you said 2012, it might have been 2011, but let's not split hairs there. But like the growth I've seen in you and the stuff that you've done over the years, just absolutely amazing. And I always comment to Lisa or whoever I'm talking to, what a magnificent job you have done, and with your own business and the food van and all these sort of things, and all the work you did earlier with the men with in that other role as well. And it's just amazing stuff, brother. So I've got to thank you for being on and sharing what you're doing. I'd like to have a little bit, ask you about your kids now, your kids and your immediate family.
Yeah, beautiful.
Just tell us a little bit.
Love to. Wife's actually on a delivery right now for the food trailer. She's doing the good thing. She's been up since 6:30 this morning, darling. And I got a great woman behind me, brothers, and I wouldn't be able to do it without her. As the saying is, every great man there's a great woman right behind him, and she's my rock. She's my grounding. She only let me know about 20 minutes ago that you're lucky you're a big noter and you're helping men, because you're gonna, I'll be telling you how it is after I finish this, right? How beautiful, son. I've got. You're right.
I just think there, brother. I mean, it's really important what you just said there. We're lucky enough to get to travel around the country and speaking to our fellas, how important it is to have that support from our women and our family. And I mean, it's such an integral part of what we do, and it's really so important because we can't do it on our own, and that's something that's come out a lot in our work of late, is that we can't do it on our own. We need the support of our women and kids, and even whole communities as well. So well said. Yeah.
100%, brother. It's and that's it. Like I call it my ecosystem. This is our safe place, your ecosystem or your sacred space at home for your kids, where they you want to create as much love and safety in your safe space at home, where they're out doing their TikTok or their Xbox. With my two here now, I'll probably have to go and grab them, get them moved. We have, to the best of our ability, make our home safe as possible. And I come from a background that certainly wasn't privileged. Me and you spoke about this earlier, brother. The perception of where I've sort of come from, I probably give out a different viewpoint of who I am. But I've definitely got not the hardest school in Oxford, but I'll tell you what, I've had a few, and I pride myself on that. And I think you guys as well would whatever way we can push, not only yourself healing and what you're doing for yourself, but what are you then in turn doing for your family? You're right, brother, and it's so important. So yeah, I've got a 12-year-old son, young bull, very determined young man who obviously follows in dad's footsteps, and I'm so proud of him. He oozes humility, something that I envy in my son, is his humility and how humble he is. And but again, he's got myself, but he's got his great grandfather, especially looking over him and taking him bush and learning. And that, as we know, was take from a lot of our mob over the years. So our family line especially, we cherish that. There's there's good, bad, and in between on being a culturally sound, strong family, right? You know, there's the whole sort of responsibilities and leadership and all the things in between on that. So I'm working really hard on, number one, he goes on his own journey. He loves basketball, so I'm really encouraging that. I played a little bit at school, but that's his journey and his own pathway rather than him completely following in my footsteps, right? And I think that's important. So, and I also have a 10 turning 21 daughter, who, daddy's girl. Daddy's girl. She's the boss. I call her the Richter scale. She measures the tremors in the house, but she's gonna be. She's got a lot of mum and dad's work ethic. My son's got a lot of talent. It's just about him applying that talent. So she very, very much. A lot of our kids are, right, cheese and chalk. I definitely have that, but I've also got a pigeon pair, and she's very strong in her language too. So she's very ingrained in that, and that's something that, as you gentlemen know, there's only certain ways and so much I can teach her culturally, but I can definitely continue that language with her, and she's quite big on that. So yeah, that's my little crew. A couple of chickens out the back who I get a few eggs off here and there, but yeah.
That's always good, brother. Those fresh eggs.
Yeah, definitely, bud. Yeah, no, it sounds like you know, how you coping then? I suppose, are they going to school or they're homeschooling, or what are you doing?
So I've got my son's just went into year 7, so he was cooling up a little bit. I was sort of saying to him, you know, you're going to miss, you know, a third of year 7. You're going to be doing at home. You know, how unique's that? And of course, that's a world thing. And but that's pretty unique. Look, he's pretty good. He gets a little bit Xboxy, and I've got to come in and check on that every now and again. But the way, look, and I want to really acknowledge the schools. Like, we got our son in a private high school. My daughter goes to the state school here, the local. She's in year 5, so one in primary and one in high school. So that's obviously been a transition as a parent, guys. As you guys would know, it's a transition in growth with your kids. So I'm really going on, especially with our son making that move and whatnot. So that's been interesting. The homeschool stuff, daughter's pretty much rattling her stuff off in a couple of hours. She's pretty good at it. She applies. She's a bit like me, you know, gets in and gets the job done. And then she's TikToking and whatever she's doing, YouTubing for the rest of the day. Look, you know, I heard you guys speak about this a little bit earlier in the week. You just got to embrace the process, right? You just got to do your best, and everyone's in it together, hey, you know, and that's the sort of attitude I suppose from my lifestyle point of view, lads. It hasn't changed a great deal, apart from the fact that we've had to make adjustments, like simple things like give my daughter a little bit of space in one of the living rooms that we have, with a little desk and a work area, where son's pretty good. He can work in his room. So it's just little things like that, which I would imagine every parent's sort of trying to, you know, work on, because it's different. But yeah, they both go back one day a week down here next week. So sort of slowly transitioning them back into school next week. Yeah, one day a week, I think it is.
That's good, mate. Yeah.
Thanks for that, bro. Yeah.
I remember, you know, like I went to school years ago. I suppose I'm bloody 60 now. So you know,
21.
I think I went to year 10, you know, and that was about it up here. I was up in Cairns. But, you know, how things change over the years. Like, you know, my parents probably would have went only to primary school, you know what I mean? And grandparents and that would have probably, you know, same sort of thing, I suppose, and may have not even went to school. And now we've got kids who are now aspiring to get into university, and, you know, and it's really inspiring. It's really great to hear those, you know, what young people have got for them now, I suppose, compared to, I suppose, when I was growing up. But, yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's funny how, you know, and the other thing as well, I've got to say, is that, you know, none of my ancestors, my parents and grandparents, would ever thought they'd ever be in business. You know what I mean? They'd always be working, labour, and all that sort of stuff. And now we're talking about owning our own business, and we've got these businesses, and we're talking about not only business but investment and all of this other stuff, you know. So how things change, mate. It's just amazing, you know, and it's great to hear. Your young people are probably going to, like you say, you're in business, and you and your wife. So you know, I won't be surprised if they go to somewhere, you know, where they're in business or in a profession of some sort, you know. So well done, mate. Yeah, well done, Dwayne.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Thanks,
Yeah,
brother.
good
And
stuff.
they technically are in the business a little bit already, making business decisions. So yeah, they know that both the businesses will be eventually handed over to talk. But I had to gently remind them that Dad's not going anywhere yet. So just make me part of this discussion, eh? Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
yeah. But you're right, Charlie.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, brother. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's
CJ,
good.
we got any comments there that you can see? Anyone commenting?
Oh yeah, mate. I've had a quick look, and I'll tell you who's actually
Who we
on.
got on there?
Where are we? I was looking at it before. I got Zara Tippe from over at Stratty, Andrew Dodd, Stephen Simpson, Joseph Uwe.
Good on you, fellas, and
So
yeah,
they're enjoying the
join us.
conversation. Yeah, they're enjoying the conversation. So that's great.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's you know, I guess it's yeah. We always try to acknowledge people that join in, and you know, although this is sort of stage, people get to look at it later on as well. But it's always good, you know, because it's weird how when we start talking as men in this sort of environment, and this is all foreign to us as well, you know, this sort of stuff. How quickly the story can change, you know what I mean, and the conversation can change into different things, I suppose. We try and keep ourselves accountable. Me and JB here, we kind of talk about, okay, you know, how we going with this COVID stuff, and how we're going with living at home and all that sort of stuff. What are we doing different? You know, what can we do? What opportunity to do something different as well? You know, in terms of trying to keep ourselves busy, I guess. So
Sure.
we've thrown some ideas around. It's good that when you get together, we probably would never had that conversation, JB. You know, about even some business concepts going forward.
yeah, that's right. I was
Yeah.
just laughing there. One of the comments. Hello from Wales. It's a bit early, still here though. So hello.
Right.
I think that might be Jan. So hello, Jan. Thanks for joining us. You'll win that award for longest distance, I think. So
Well, stay safe, Jan, over there.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you're right too, brother. I mean, I wanted to just maybe touch on that, what we were talking about before with the identity and the sense of belonging, and how important it is for our mobs, um, and it certainly it's about what makes us tick, and we all know, you know, that we need to get back to country sometimes, just to ground our feet, just to get real again, you know, like, and people will let us know that, you know, when we're getting too big for our britches or whatever you want to say, you know. But we all know which way we can go, you know, with that sense of belonging, with our identity. But a lot of our mob sort of struggle that little bit a bit with that sense of belonging, with that identity, you know, and and I suppose it's come from, you know, like from colonisation. I mean, we were talking about this the other day, Dwayne, you know, and it's something that really interests me. And yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it, fellas, you know.
Yeah. It's definitely such a. You're right. You mentioned the word curious, and look, when it comes to that sense of identity, we're all yearning for, and Charlie spoke to it earlier. You know, it's really around
Yeah.
self-awareness and reflecting, and ensuring that we're tuning into spaces, and being grounded in knowing that we're only small in this scheme of things, and I think that's really where it starts. If we can really understand that genetically, especially as Aboriginal people, genetically, that's who we are. That's in our makeup. That is just in the most part, it's an opportunity. But as we know, the opportunity from that has been taken away from us, so to speak. Not entirely, you know. And I'm again, I spoke to my opportunity. I know there's other great communities and great people doing fantastic different pockets of work across the country, and from a cultural sense, there's awesome people still doing it. Some ceremonies still going around the country and whatnot. So, but I think that's the biggest thing for people in terms of that identity and who you are. And it's quite a simple question, right? But you sit behind that question for a while, and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and bigger. And to me, it's always, no matter what. We spoke about this the other day too. It's no matter if I'm doing a mandated cultural health New South Wales health training, or I'm on country with someone, or I'm having a like-minded conversation. Generally, it sort of comes to that in some way, shape, or form, and we're all searching for it. And you know what? Sometimes I say to people, it's okay to deviate off the highway. I call it the universal spirit highway. Sometimes we take all the different entries and exits and go on windy roads and come off that highway for maybe a long time. But sometimes, and eventually we should be able to come back if we have faith in that. And but there's a whole heap of stuff around that. Hey, and I suppose, how do we start? Well, that basic opportunity. You guys have mentioned it. Going for a walk, connecting back with the old people, or the mother, or nature, or scientifically, we know that. And that's obviously one of the biggest messages for this whole COVID pandemic is get out and get some vitamin D and some fresh air and just get back into it. We all fall out of that grounding, hey, and I think that's one thing that I love about the work you guys are doing. That everyone's doing. It's there's opportunities for that to happen now more so than you guys would know 20 years ago, even 15 years ago, probably not as many opportunities. So men's groups, men's programs, check-ins, self-help. There's a whole heap of different podcasts or books or different people you can listen to, because inevitably, hey, that big crazy world, that'll be like that Pac-Man, eh? He'll swallow you up. It'll swallow you up, and it's I think some of our language too toward that we use for ourselves. Like mistake, is it a mistake or is it a learning? Or is it eventually a choice? Or all these things. So it's self-awareness, reflecting, and caring for others. If you can start to turn around some of some of the science, we've spoken about this a lot on the podcast, is the negative gearing or the wiring of the brain due to the world that we're initially brought into. 80% of that is negative wiring because of what we're introduced into, right? And way back in our ancestors, the sensory of anxiety, so to speak, Jack, and that's something that you speak a lot about too. That's genetic. That's strong because it's in you. It's how you control that, and how can you rewire your brain and go to the best of your ability, do something positive for someone else, in turn do something better for that's good for you.
I think you're spot on there, brother, and I think it's a lot. We talk about it a lot. It's about being able to celebrate what we're doing well. Because people are doing good things, but it's about like actually acknowledging and accepting and saying, look, I've done all right today. So I might want to pat myself on the back today, or pat your brother or your sister on the back and say, well done. We need to get rid of all this negative stuff that you're talking about, Dwayne, like the lateral violence and all this stuff that goes on in our communities. And if we can start by, like, if it's just one thing, well done, Dwayne, or well done, geez, I did all right today. It's not about being a big head. It's not about anything like that. It's not about being selfish, but it's about starting to look after ourselves. And then we're able to start to look after others as well once we start to look after ourselves. Because if we fall over, what happens? Like the biggest thing that people say is, but I've got to look after everyone else. What happens if you fall over, though? You know, so
Yeah.
it's a little bit about looking after ourselves and finding ourselves and accepting ourselves, I guess, is the way of looking at it, and then celebrating. Let's not forget our traumas at all, but we need to be able to move on and start to celebrate what we are doing well.
Yeah, you're right, JB. Yeah, that's right, mate. Yeah, I know it's we do need to, we don't want to beat up on ourselves all the time. So, let's have a look at what we've accomplished, what we've got. Not what we haven't got, but those sort of things. I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about. I know that we did talk about our elders and stuff, and it's a good time, I suppose, for us as men and in particular, and men and women, mothers and fathers, I suppose. Talking to our young people about those that went before us, in terms of our fathers and our father and mother, I guess, and then our grandparents, and also the uncles and aunties, and just sort of so that that sort of information is getting passed on to our young fellas, so they know where they come from and who they're associated with, and what that relationship might be. I think it's because I never had the opportunity. But it's one of the things that happened in my life was my parents died really young, and I was, once again, I was a foster kid, so I didn't get to know that much about, the family and stuff. So, but since then I've found a lot of information out, and by just asking uncles and aunties about it before they all passed away as well. So kind of like now, I've got I'm a keeper of some stories which I need to pass on, to our young people. So, and same situation with my cousins who, that generation now is kind of like the elders, if you like. And we all need to be having a chat with their kids and telling them about, uncles and aunties and granddads and grandmums and all that sort of stuff. So, those stories aren't lost. So, I think that with what we know now, but also in this particular time around this COVID-19, where we can connect up with people more so now than before, because we really, it's for me to do some stuff, I don't have to go all the way up north to Cairns, to talk to kids, but now
that's right.
do it via these mediums, Yeah, so maybe some of that stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that, guys?
I think I think what you're saying, CJ, is so important. It is about like we can't afford to have those stories and those things lost. We need to be able to have that transfer of knowledge that continues on and on and on. But it's not just about say us transferring those stories back to the younger ones and those sort of things. It's also about listening to our younger ones and having that transfer of knowledge that goes back and forth across there and back. So it's multiple ways that transfer of knowledge is happening. So I think what you're saying, CJ, is absolutely paramount to our communities and our way of living, to be honest. So.
Well, mate, we're talking about identity before, and it's all about identity, isn't it? Being knowing that you're connected to particular people and people from a particular country, I suppose. And Dwayne, I'm really inspired by you writing a book, because we can talk about our elders and what we know of them, but who's going to tell your story, when you go? And that's writing it all down now is a great way of sort of recording that story, I suppose, so that your descendants further and further down the track in the future will have some information.
You're going to write a book too, aren't you, CJ?
Yeah, I write little stories, but I write recollections of my past, I suppose.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know what I mean? And, I do something that's probably, I don't know. I do it anyway. It's just a weird thing. Oh, it's not a weird thing, but it's for me to understand. I collect eulogies, so that's what I do.
Yeah.
Often I'm the one that actually has to read the eulogy, so I actually collect them because it gives me a little bit of information about that person who's passed away, which is normally a relative of mine. So and that's their story.
That's beautiful, Alan.
Yeah. So it's really important. Sometimes we just throw it in the back of the car or in the cupboard and we just leave it there. we need to keep them somewhere preserved, because that might be the only thing that's written about that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, really important what you're saying, CJ. You know, like it's so important that we do remember our loved ones. You know, and those sort of things, and certainly for us to be able to continue our journeys, and we need to ride on the backs of some people sometimes. You know, like I'm sure that all like in all the work that we've all done across the years. There's great people that have come before us, and we pay tribute to them all the time. You know what I mean? So it's we're not reinventing the wheel. We're continuing on with their work. So yeah, look, I think it's just really important that topic that you're just talking about, CJ.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah, especially around that identity stuff, because you get a sense of purpose and you get a sense of belonging, all that sort of stuff, and Brian, you know it when you walk on country, that feeling and the connection that you get as well is quite, it's still there, we talk about it as, in history, all this research that's been done and all the stuff that's been talked about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people having that connection, but we can still feel that connection when we go back home, I think it's really important, and, for people to understand what that is, really, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's...
And I think too. I mean, Randall Ross from Red Dust Town, another good brother boy. He always talks about, like how do we know where we're going if we don't know where we come from?
Yeah.
It's and some people don't have that connection back to country or back to family and that, and we've got to look after them as well. Like all the ones from stolen generation and those sort of things. Some of them don't get back to that connection, don't get back to family and those sort of things. So we need to be looking after them as well, I guess. So, but it is really important, yeah. And it is about purpose, CJ.
Yeah, so we've got Samantha French on, mate. She's chucked a comment in there. She says, "We're the centre of our journeys. We are the centre. We are the centre of our journeys. Celebrate the wins that we have personally, and all the optimism will flow on to our loved ones." So nice, Samantha. Thank you for that.
And g'day, Sam. I'm hoping you're well down in Melbourne there. So thank you.
Totally.
Very good. Very nice. But, so what's planned for the weekend, fellas? What are we doing?
What am I doing? Gee, that's a good thing. I don't even know what I'm doing, so that's a good thing. So usually,
I'll tell you what you're doing, brother.
I know what I've got to do in a minute.
2 sets of 20.
Well, I do. I got 25. Well, I've got 25 to do. I was actually going to do it live, so I had proof of concept at the end of the year, and I was actually going to do my 25 for you, JB, while I got you. So that takes care of that one. That's day 2, so I've got a few days to go yet. But yeah, definitely do that. I'll go for another run on Sunday. I've been running basically between 20 and 30 kilometres a week. I've gone on one hell of a fitness journey in the last probably 15 months. Feeling great physically. One thing about my journey, Charlie, is that when I came back, the country, a decade ago, I was in reasonable shape. But then I obviously had my big spiritual awakening, and I let the physical part slip a lot, So that's been in and out, trying to get healthy again. I'd be yo-yoing with my weight, and I'm an ex-league player, so I was playing a bit of footy here and there, so that sort of get me to a level of fitness, and I sort of ebbed and flowed. But I've taken it really seriously over the last 15 months. I was supposed to due to running the Gold Coast half marathon this year in July, but I'm actually going to do it anyway on July 5th. So now I'm putting it out there. I'm going to run the 21 Ks here locally, probably more than likely, and get some, my kids or something to ride with me and document that.
Well, I tell you what, brother.
So,
I'll just tell you what, mate, Lisa and myself are training for a half marathon, so we might be able to join you on the 5th of July.
All right.
You do it down there, we'll do it up here, and we'll document it.
Deadly. Yeah. Let's do that. All right.
We'll give it a go.
And I'll hear about it later.
Deadly.
I'll hear about it later.
Charlie can ride.
Okay.
Yeah, cheers on. That's right.
That sounds good,
Yeah,
brother.
you
We'll
ride with
do
it,
it.
Charlie.
Yeah, I'll shout out to brother Lane Brown, who's a good brother of mine from the Indigenous Marathon Project. So he'll jump in
Oh,
there
right.
and do that with us. And Shane Venables is another good brother of mine. They're all been a part of that and done the New York Marathon. So that was part of what I was aspiring. I wanted to start with a half first, and then I definitely looking at a goal to run a marathon, and that's what I want to do. I love running, I always have, but it's been a while between drinks, apart from the last 15 months. So yeah, look, one thing to be really honest, the ironic thing in me starting running again was actually for my mental health. To get some good chemicals going, and the dopamine and all the good stuff, endorphins cracking in your brain, and that is it's so good. So for the brothers, and the sisters for that matter, if it starts as a 500-meter walk, we all probably were once upon a time a lot fitter than we are now, maybe. Those chemicals come good, and they make you feel good about yourself. And I know I sound pretty straightforward there, but I'm advocating for that because it's really paramount in my life right now. So I was sort of, I had to check in with myself because I was there in well-being, as you guys are, and I was talking, and I still am very spiritually sound, and I have been for a long time. But yeah, the physical stuff, it was slipping, and it was actually an old Italian man. He was an interesting man. Last February, he's about 74, 75, and he legged me. He shot up and done the Gulliga walk, which is around about 13 k's of walking, Charlie, and he left me for dead.
Yeah.
And I was huffing and puffing, and I think we all have those moments. That's when it really hit me, and I thought, shit, I've got to do something about this. I'm out of shape, and the old lad, he left me for dead and made me look stupid. So. But he was a beautiful old man. He runs a clinic in the northern part of Italy, and it's around chronic disease reversal through diet and healthy lifestyle. And he's basically working with palliative people. And he was over here doing a keynote. He was a very interesting man, and that really inspired me. So that in turn goes to what I was saying earlier. We can learn off other people and other cultures, and it goes so nicely into what in what we're about too. So yeah, anyway, I've gone on a bit of a tangent there, but as I do, but yeah, that's sort of where I'm at. I'll be doing a bit of that and doing some reading. Reading a few books, and yeah, I'm not I'm a bit of a party pooper these days. I don't think too extravagant, but I'm looking after myself, eh?
Yeah, that's good, bud. Yeah,
Thanks
good.
for sharing that, brother. What are you up to, CJ, this weekend?
This weekend, mate. Actually, Mum's Day on Sunday, so happy Mother's Day to all those
Yeah,
mothers.
that's true.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I'll put my foot in it. Thanks, Charlie, for covering that one. Happy
No,
Mother's
it
Day.
is. It is.
You just reminded me. Look, I knew there was something on, eh?
Although today's Mates Day, so we're in the good
Mates Day, yes. Yeah.
Mates Day, May 8th. So, but yeah, Mother's Day, we our youngest bloke invited us up to a breakfast on Sunday, so we're going to see and catch up with him, and that'll be good. We haven't seen him for probably about 4 or 5 weeks now. So with all this, isolation stuff, I guess the other boy is flat out over in the island, so we can't get over to. My other son's got he's living over in North Stradbroke Island, Dwayne.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
I've got a little pizza shop, mate. So
Hey.
we do a bit of hospitality, I suppose, and that type of stuff. So it's really good. But yeah, he's they're in lockdown over there. They won't let anyone off the island.
Yeah, beautiful spot.
Fair
I was
enough.
there. I was there a few years ago. Beautiful spot. Yeah.
Oh, well, you mate. Yeah, you
Yeah.
might have been to. It's at Little Dunning.
It's on the main drag there, eh? Is it?
Yeah, that's it. CJ's.
Yeah. Right,
Yeah,
I got
CJ's.
it. Yeah, deadly.
That's it. Yeah.
Oh well.
So he what's that, bud?
Oh no, I was going to say I'll come in for a margarita next time, eh?
Yeah, that's it, brother. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, get there, go and say hello to him. But we're heading up there for Sunday. Tomorrow, I guess probably not much else. On Sunday, I'm going to also go to my buddy storage shed, mate. And we left the box up there with all our kitchen stuff. So we've only just moved down here, Dwayne. So
okay.
And I've got to do a bit of cooking myself. Baking some banana bread, I believe.
I'm still waiting for this banana bread, brother. I keep hearing about it.
Well, mate, I'll have to get eggs off Dwayne. He's got a couple of
Sling them up, eh?
I
I'll
might get
deliver
them
'em.
before.
I'll put them.
The
I'll,
eggs
put 'em.
will be there tomorrow, brother, all right?
I'll send the courier.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so we'll be having some banana bread next week, mate. So I'll catch up to you down the coffee shop here, brother.
Yeah, no, for sure. We
Yeah.
love our catch-ups and our yarns, Charlie.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, no, that's about it, mate. Although I don't know whether you're doing something tonight. During the week, last week or the week before, I was doing some work for the Movember Foundation. They have their mates festival today. So they're doing a live right throughout the day. And tonight there's a comedy club that's happening. There's about a few comedians, and they asked us to get online to be part of the audience, I guess. And you might see me on there. So it's good, I think, which is interesting.
I want to put that link up too, Charlie.
Yeah, I will, mate. I'll share it with you, JB, and that'll be good. I did. Oh, geez, mate, we had a funny week though. Because I don't know whether it's SBS or whatever. They do that mob sing along, and people send in videos of themselves singing. So they've asked me to do this. So we did that the other night. It was a hoot.
Who?
And so I don't know whether I've sent the video into the boys and at SBS TV, and I don't know. They hopefully, they might cut.
I was born.
They might cut my bit out, which will be good. So save me apologising later. That's all. Yeah, but no.
Yeah, Charlie, I'll believe the banana bread when I see it.
Yeah, no, that'll be right, mate.
I know someone commented.
What did they say?
I can't see who it was, but they just said, I'll believe this banana bread when I see it.
Jan Hogan.
No, she's getting stuck into you, brother.
All the way from Wales, see?
Yeah.
I can't have any reply to that. I'm not in Wales.
Probably Dwayne's the closest. He's in New South Wales. So.
Oh,
yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, not far. It's, what about you, JB? What are you going to be doing?
Well, tomorrow we've got I think a 5K run for our half marathon training program that we're doing. So we'll do that. But we also wanted to get in a little bike ride along the beach as well, which we do a little bit of. And then a bit of work around the home, cleaning up and that sort of stuff. Sunday's another day, so I've got to be on my best behaviour and look after Lisa.
Adam's coming over. Is he down on?
Yeah, no, Adam's down, and we talked to him, and he said he's going to give us a ring and see if we'll catch up. So
yeah, no doubt.
He wasn't available tomorrow, so
let us know, bud. Let us know. Yeah, well, listen, I look forward to the day that we catch up, Dwayne, in person.
Yeah, brother.
Great,
sure.
Fantastic, mate. Yeah, I think so. And Nara, I don't think I've ever been to Nara, so that'll be an experience as well. I think go down to your country and have a look. Yeah, no,
sounds good. It'll be good, brother. Yeah,
definitely.
I got plenty of flash bell tents out here, so I'll spoil you up and set up a deadly comfy bed for you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Hey, Dwayne, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about what happened today at Darty. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Look, I caught pretty much most of the yarn today. Well, pretty much all of it, 90 odd % of the talk. It was really good. It ran short of time, which it would have as our spaces do. We always run out of time, but to hear Uncle Bootsy Thorpe and and Uncle Jackie Charles was on there, and hearing them old fellas was pretty special. That was it, and then. They went in and they talked a bit about the journey and what they're up to, and so look, Uncle Alan is my uncle. He's married to my dad's sister, so I've seen the growth and was there, pre Darty Monroe, like you were, and just what's happening, is just phenomenal with the support of Storm and Collingwood, behind them as well, and the people that are believing in the mission and the initiative, and yeah, it was pretty overwhelming in terms of pretty powerful. Hey, it was good, and seeing those men, as we know, just seeing those men embrace that was really really phenomenal, and something that I definitely got a lot out of. I only got about 90 seconds airtime, which was about a low for me, but that's okay because it was about the men, and Uncle Al invited me on, a couple of days ago because I invited him onto my podcast to have a yarn about it, so it worked out really well, and so just getting on there really quickly before I do, because I know you guys probably move on, but the learning I had this morning sort of goes into what I sort of touched on as we yarned out. Was I went out and done a school program, a filming, which was cooking baby snapper in paper bark, and what it did, it was a really good lesson for me to be out on the beach, singing up country, doing my thing. So I sort of had to realise that I probably was showing a few early signs of social anxiety, and what today's been, and capping it off with a fantastic conversation with you guys is that we're social beings, and we have to connect, and that was probably a big take home for me today, and a message that I wanted to share to whoever views this as a really important message, that it happens to everybody, and we must look at it and observe it, but also allow others to invite them into our space, and because this whole thing's going to be, getting back to what we don't even know yet, right? So it's probably quite natural for us to sort of show those triggers. So yeah, just pushing that message out there for the brothers and sisters listening is, make sure you connect with someone and have a good yarn, no matter who it is. Really important. So yeah.
Yeah, really important message, brother. Because like as you say, there are plenty of people struggling out there with social distancing, and all that sort of stuff. Me myself, I've even struggled a bit of late with a little bit of anxiety, and it's something that you wouldn't probably wish it on your worst enemy. But as I said, like the help of great people around you and those sort of things, you get through it. So I'm just throwing my hat in the ring that if anyone wants to have a yarn or anything like that, give us a ring, or talk to us on Facebook, and we're all happy to have a yarn, I think. So it's really important to stay connected, because we keep saying, and everyone keeps saying, we'll get through this together, and I think that's the way that we're going to do it. So, and again, we are all really social beings, so we want to be with people. We love our work. We live for that, you know what I mean? So it's something that we're missing out on is our work and our family as well. So and our friends, of course. So it's something that we need to be mindful of, and as we're all doing is ringing people to just have a yarn and see how they're traveling as well. So
definitely, mate. Yeah, that's right. We're always trying to support, I suppose. That's the main thing. And I think that the work we do, we're always giving, mate. And boys, we're really trying to support our mob. So whether that be your family or your friends, or your local mob there in the community. So I reckon it's important, that message as well, Dwayne. If you're having trouble out there, just give someone a ring, whether it be some family member or a friend or a mate. Mate's Day today, so ring up your mate, or head to Lifeline, or get in contact maybe with an Aboriginal.
Absolutely.
Stuff. So yeah, definitely. Hey, Jack, Ben Holton says thanks for the invite.
Hey, Benny boy, and I know
and
struggling a little bit of late, so share with you, brother, and head up, and been a little bit crook, so he's been back into a little bit of fitness as well. So keep going, brother. It's fantastic stuff.
Absolutely, and Jenny Wood too, mate. Do you know Jenny?
Yeah, I do know Jenny. Jenny's my cousin. So g'day, Jenny. Hello, down in Canberra.
Yep. No, very good, mate.
ASIS. So.
Yeah. So, mate, look, thanks very much, Dwayne. Like I said, I look forward to catching up to you in person, mate. We'll get together and do some work maybe, or we'll, get down and have a yarn, just have a good old chinwag, mate, about a lot of stuff, and I know that we're kind of all in the same sort of sphere, I guess, in terms of what we do.
Yep.
Which is great. And, hopefully that, what we talked about tonight will help someone out there and at least, give them a better idea of who we are, what we do, and hopefully something, resonates with them and, they can take that forward as well. So some of that yarn, I guess, yeah. But, I'm just checking these.
Yeah, you're right, brother. Great yarn tonight, and it is about I think we had some really good discussions, but also that humour and that bit of fun that we have, I think it really grounds us as well, and really makes us who we are, and helps us to not forget who we are as well. So well done, fellas, and thanks for a great yarn, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty more. As you said to me the other day, Dwayne, there might be a round 2 coming up, so we might need you back on and have a bit more of a yarn. So we'd love to do that. So.
Anytime, brothers. Yeah.
Jamie, I was going to say maybe we could catch up just before that 5K run or whatever you're going to do, mate. That half marathon.
Yeah.
And a bit afterwards, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've set us a bit of a target now, Dwayne, because ours was originally going to be in August, so we'll have to bring you
moving you along a bit, eh?
Yeah.
Before 25 push-ups, which I'll do live. Be a riveting way to finish the yarn tonight. But no, look, I just want to take the opportunity to say thanks for having me on board. It's really beautiful to be in your space, lads, and again, it's important. It's been just a big day for me. Getting back into a little bit of normality, and I'm very privileged and blessed that today was a day where I could get out and do what I do, and I'm very grateful for that. And you guys, what you're doing is it goes without saying. It's so important, and my work and what I do doesn't allow me to be in this as much as I would like to be. And Jack and I chatted about that the other day on the podcast, but it's so important to still see this important work going on, and whether it's on a platform like this, we're all being creative. Hey, we're all going virtual. We're all coming out of our comfort zones, but we care, right? And that's an important thing. And so all the best and big love and gratitude, guys. And I suppose I better get ready and quickly do these push-ups for Jack. So I can
25,
concept, eh? 25, eh? All right, you ready?
Yeah, look at
25. Counting them.
And get right down there too, brother.
4, 6, 7, 8.
It's up to 10, I think.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22. Oh,
That'll do, eh?
That's it, bud. Yeah, wow, 26.
Good work, brother.
Awesome.
That's something that hasn't been done
tomorrow, eh? There you go.
Good work.
So I'll have to nominate someone. I wonder if I could flick them back to you, but I'll nominate someone and put them on.
Good on you.
Yeah.
Nominate Charlie,
brothers.
Oh.
I could.
All right.
We've only just met.
Yeah.
All right,
I think I've done my 25.
All right. Thanks so much for coming on board, Dwayne. Having a yarn and sharing a bit about your story. I think everyone will love what you're doing, brother. And big love to you and your mob down there. Because and keep up doing what you're doing, brother. Because you're just killing it down there. So yeah. And maybe we can all get together sometime and do some work. And yeah. So big great.
Definitely, yeah. Yalla Gandago. Yeah, good evening and big love to everybody out there. Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, mate.
See ya.
Take care, lads.
Take care.
And just one more thing for Monday night, we've got another special guest coming on. Professor Kerry Arabona is going to join us at 5:30, I think, on Monday. That's when we go live Mondays, 5:30. So Kerry Arabona is going to come on and have a yarn with us. So
I'm excited about that one, mate. That'll be great. Be excellent. Yeah, our first lady to come on.
First lady, yeah. So
after Mum's Day. So happy Mum's Day, everyone. We'll talk to you.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good night.